The other day, we started watching a story about Miguel Perez.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so for those who didn't see, we have a little compilation. He's a deported veteran. He came to the United States when he was 8 years old. He's a deported veteran, and unfortunately, he did 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He left with a brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. He believed he was a citizen. Turns out he wasn't. And after being honorably discharged, serving America, protecting America, he's now living in Mexico. We were interviewing him about his entire story. We have the second half. We were supposed to show the second half yesterday, but because Groundhog Sam blew up everything, we're going to do it today. But I want to show everybody just a little snippet of what we saw on Monday to remind everybody about the story. Now, Miguel Perez came to the United States from Mexico with his family legally with a green card at the age of 8. He served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan with the United States Army.
I felt the duty. I felt just the civil duty to defend the country.
Were you aware that you were not a citizen of the United States, despite the fact you knew you wanted to, you had your civic duty or felt the civic duty to represent the United States?
That is correct.
You definitely saw combat. You were on seek and destroy. You came back. Were they treating you at the VA hospital for drug dependence, or were they treating you for something else?
They were treating me for PTSD. They were treating me for back pain. They were treating me for TBI, traumatic brain injury.
How did you get a TBI?
One incident, it involved a flashbang grenade blowing up right about here.
You have a wife, you have children. When did it start to get out of control for you? Alcohol use, drug use, and why was it getting out of control?
Drugs, especially powder cocaine, came into play after my second return. And you come back to the United States and everything is slow.
You go from this exhilaration, this rush of exhilaration that you're shooting and people are shooting at you and your life could be over, or someone else's life can be over, and the adrenaline and the exhilaration to come back to, I guess, mowing the lawn and cooking the dinner.
The only time that I was able to be relaxed was under the effects of alcohol and powder cocaine.
So now you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You plead guilty to what in court in Chicago?
It was called manufacture and delivery. In the state of Illinois, if it's packaged, it's a manufacture and delivery, and that's what I pled guilty to.
And how long were you in prison?
7.5 years. I'm still in danger.
You're only going to come back to the United States either as a United States citizen or if you can vacate that conviction.
Also death.
Death, right. When you die, you can go into Arlington Cemetery. I'm talking about coming back alive. Okay, so we saw, when we left off with Miguel, he was in jail for 7 years, 7.5 years. While he was in jail serving his time for drugs, he cleaned himself up.
Yep.
And they gave him the programs and what he needed, something the Veterans Administration never did, something the military never did.
Right.
And now we're going to hear that he never actually left his jail cell. He was picked up by immigration, and we're going to hear about his deportation process and what happened and how he ended up back in Mexico. We're joined also, by the way, the woman is Pastor Emma Lozano of Lincoln United Methodist Sanctuary Church in Chicago, and she had traveled. She knows Miguel, and she had traveled to visit with him recently, and she's taken up his cause as an advocate on his behalf, and we're going to hear from her as well. So let's watch.
When I was in prison and it came out that I was facing deportation, I've had members of different organizations that were with me in prison approach me and offer me jobs. But when I say offer, it was pretty much laying claim. Well, when you get down there, you can go here, you can go there, and you can work with us. But it's pretty much letting me know that once I got here, I belong to them. One of the organizations, it's around the Matamoros area where I was deported at.
Those are not the Boy Scouts, I assume.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why there is the travel ban that the United States issued for American citizens not to go to certain places in Mexico.
Now, I understand that the Immigration Service came to you and there was a lot of publicity surrounding your deportation and that they had you take the citizenship test, which was basically a dog and pony show because you're barred from becoming a citizen if you have an aggravated felony after April of 1990.
That is correct. We did a mock citizen, we did the oath, we did the citizenship test, and They told me that if I wanted to change my name, to look over the certificate, because that's exactly how my name was going to appear on the certificate that afternoon. And we did the whole thing, said, okay, we'll see you at 12 o'clock. And they came back around 2:15 to tell me that I didn't qualify for the citizenship because of my lack of moral
Right.
aptitude.
You can't prove good moral character if you have an aggravated felony after November 17th, 1990.
That is correct. But also, after I got deported and I looked at the dates, they already knew that I was going to be deported before they did that.
Right.
That was on a Thursday, and they knew I was going to be deported that Monday.
It was a show for the press.
That is correct.
So you got deported on what day?
March 23rd, 2018.
What is the status with your marriage and your relationship right now?
I was already divorced from my son's mother. That was final in 2006, 2005. That's my daughter's mother. But my son's mother, we had ended the relationship when I went to prison. But I'm still very active as much as I can get with my son and my daughter.
And your parents are still in the United States as well?
That is correct. My sisters, everyone.
Tell me what it felt like. I guess they took you on a plane to Texas and then drove you across the border. Is that generally what they do? Is that what they did with you?
Well, what they did was, when I found out that they were deporting me that morning, that I was going straight to Mexico, that I wasn't going to Louisiana. They broke protocol. The protocol was for me to go to Louisiana and stay there for 2 weeks. And they were supposed to call my family so they can bring me clothes, money, and they didn't do anything. That morning, I found out that I was going to be in Matamoros that evening. So I started refusing. So they pretty much the whole way, I was put on the bus. Then from the bus, we drove to Indiana. They put me on a plane, and we flew to Kentucky, to St. Louis. We flew different places to drop off people and pick up people. When we finally got to Brownsville, Texas, one of the ICE agents ran up to the plane and said, "Where's Miguel Perez?" I said, "Here I am." He said, "Okay." He's like, "Are you the veteran?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Good, you're coming with me." And then he told the other agents on the plane, he said, "It's a high-profile case. Something's going on. He's coming with me." So they put me on a bus just by myself, and then they brought somebody else. And the other guy they brought in told me, it's like, "Hey, we're going back to a detention center. I guess something happened with us, and they're taking us back to a detention center. We're not getting deported today." So in my mind, I figured that maybe with Tammy Duckworth or somebody back home had called and stopped my deportation. So they made it seem like I was going back to a detention center. When we get there, they take the handcuffs off me, they take everything, and they give me this bag. It's like a potato sack with my paperwork.
Right.
And the guy tells me, he's like, "Hey, what happened? Why didn't you become a citizen when you were in the military?" I said, "Because it was never an issue."
Nobody even told me to do it.
And
I'm
he
busy
told
going
me-
out on night raids. You know, is that the last thing? Becoming a citizen didn't even enter your mind?
That is correct. And that's what I told him. I was like, it was not an issue. And he's like, "Well, it was an issue for me." He said, "I wasn't born in this piece of crap country." He's like, "I'm from he said some country, I don't know, Central America somewhere." And he's like, "And the reason I came here is like, and the reason I joined the military was to get my citizenship." And I told him the difference between you and me was because you joined to get your citizenship. I joined for the love of the country, the love of my community.
Right.
And he's like, "Well, we need to fix this." He's like, "Come on." We start walking and we start making small talk. He opens a door in between what's the gate. And when he opens the door, he's like, "Right this way." And when I passed through, he closes the door behind me. And when I look back,
You're in Mexico.
the door in the middle. Yes, it's a gate. It's
He
a door
literally
in the
just
middle
he
of the
literally
gate.
just walked you into Mexico and said goodbye with your potato sack.
Yes. And
Thank you
I turned
very
around
much for
and
serving in the U.S. military.
he said, "We're done here. There's nothing more for you to do here." He said, "You see those green lights over there? Those arrows? That's Mexico. Go ask them for help."
So what'd you
Go
do? You
ask them.
literally just walked down a dirt road and then did what?
It's a bridge. It's a bridge where there's cars on one side and people are walking on that side. I just got the shoes with no shoelaces. I have a jogging pants and a white T-shirt.
Money?
No money. When I turned around, it's an unexplainable feeling. My first reaction was that I needed to get off the bridge head first. The bridge, there's rocks. There's
Right, and just
stones
end
under the bridge.
end your life.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. But the thing was that it's fenced in. the bridge is fenced in, so there's absolutely no way for me to jump over the
Right.
bridge. So when I saw that it was fenced in, I kind of had a few minutes to just breathe in and out, breathe in and out. I started slowly walking, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. I just couldn't.
Where did you walk to?
I walked across the bridge, and I was met by Mexican immigration.
And what did they do for you?
Pretty much nothing. I went into an office, and they took a picture, and they gave me a paper. That was pretty much it.
And then they let you out of the office with your potato sack, your shoes without shoelaces, no money. Best of luck, adios.
That is correct. When I came out, they did offer us phone calls, a couple of free phone calls, and that's when I called. When I called my mother, and she was hysterical, and she told me to call Pastor Emma. She's like, just call Pastor Emma. I was like, I don't know what to do, so I called Pastor.
So, Pastor Emma, we do have you on. Thank you very much. You got the call from Miguel. You were like the first person after Mom. What did you think, and what did you do for him?
It entered a lot of anxiety in me too, because I was afraid for him where they left him off, because I know that part of the country is extremely dangerous, and for him we thought that that was the last place they should ship him. They took him without telling his attorney, without calling his family. The normal procedure is they give you a few days, maybe even a week, to get your things together, get some money so that when you arrive to your destination you can get a hotel until family members or somebody could come to the rescue. One of us would have done it, but none of that happened. So we knew he was deported. We had no idea where he was for the longest time. We were frightened. We thought maybe something had already happened to them. There was no communication. So when I got the call from him, I was happy because I finally got the call from him.
Can I ask you a question? Tell me about your relationship with Miguel prior to his deportation. How did you meet him? And how did you meet the family, and how did you become the spokeswoman for this family?
I had met some of the deported veterans when I had went to rescue another family, Elvira Arellano, who was making her attempt to cross the border again. And when I was there, I met Hector Barajas and other members, Hector Lopez and other members of the deported veterans that were living out there. And I approached them because I seen these veterans in these tattered old uniforms, and they were there, and I said, what are you doing here? What's this about? And they told me that they had been deported, and they explained me the cases, and I promised them that I would commit time and energy and work towards bringing them back home. So we started to do that work in the state of Illinois and Chicago, and we got some resolutions passed. But every time I approached a senator or a congressman, they said, but where's your Illinois veteran? So we prayed for him in our church that we could have someone that we could defend from here. And then one day on a Sunday, his parents walked into the church. And we had already in our church, the Segura family, that's the parents of Ashley, and we had made the Ashley Project as well. She died in the war in Kuwait, and her father's being deported. So we had already a case. And I'm sorry because I'm a little emotional from the testimony, but so we've been looking for him. So God gave him to us, and we said we have to defend him, and we are going to be relentless, and we're going to continue until we bring him home and all of them home, because it's an embarrassment to this country what they've done to our veterans. You can't ask somebody to give their life for this country and throw them away as if they're disposable. They're not. These are U.S. citizens more than some of us, because some of us would not do that for this country.
I agree with you 100%. I want to get to what, the politicians are doing for Miguel, if anything, at this moment. But before we get to that, let's finish up his story. He calls you from Mexican immigration with his potato sack, shoes without shoelaces, no money, no cell phone, nothing. What was the first thing you do to help this man?
Well, when he was missing, I had already asked some people that we knew if they could intervene, because it's not like I can fly out, like the middle of the night. What do I know about Matamoros? I probably put him more in jeopardy running around with me and other people. It's not like we would be there. We're definitely from the U.S. So they agreed. They said, let me know where he is, and we'll make sure we get down there, etc. So that's what happened. As soon as I got the call, I called them, and they were able to get him a taxi, and they told him to come out. It was difficult, and it was a tremendous amount of anxiety. It took hours, and it was the middle of the night, and the center where he was closing. So we were telling him, don't leave, but at the same time, the people there wanted to leave. I pleaded to them, please let him stay there until we can get him the taxi. The taxi arrived but left because they said the area was too dangerous. Then we got another one that came straight from the hotel that we secured for him, and he did this time take him. So once he was in the taxi, he got to the hotel, and then he called us right away. Then and only then were we at peace.
You had to pay the hotel, you had to pay for the taxi.
Absolutely.
And how long did he stay in the hotel?
He stood there days, and then we were able to get over there. We moved him from Matamoros to Tijuana because it was a safer environment. So we had the people go to him, and we had some people we knew in Mexico to also provide some kind of protection.
You did more for him than the U.S. government and the VA combined.
The U.S. government left him penniless, without medication, after he had finally received the medical cocktail that he needed in order to survive and be able to be a human being again. They took that from him as well. They left him penniless, and they left him a target, as far as I'm concerned. Their quote, we leave no man behind. No, in this particular case, they threw him in danger.
And it's certainly not making America great again.
No, it's not. And to leave him out there alone, and that a veteran that gave his life for this country should have given the limited protection that he deserves, and the medicine, etc. I understand that there's laws, but they are broken.
So yeah, he's a veteran that almost gave his life for the country. Yes, he did something wrong. I believe a part of it is a result of what happened in Afghanistan, having a brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder. And they walk him out through a door, hand him a potato sack with no money, no phone, best of luck.
Thinking he was about to be
saved. So much for no man left behind. Not making America look good.
No, it's honestly an embarrassment to be, an American citizen when you see actually, stories like this.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. And the fact that the pastor said that, usually they'll at least give you a couple of days or, a week just to get ready, to take your stuff.
Well,
or
they don't tell you when you're leaving, okay? Right. And the reason they don't tell you, so the lawyer never knows. So, listen, as good a lawyer as I am, we have clients who get deported, okay? You don't win every case.
Right.
Okay? We don't know the day he is being deported. We know generally he's on his way within, or she is on his way within 2, 3, 4 days, but we only find out that he or she got deported after they arrive in their home country. And I think the reason they do it is for security reasons. They don't want someone like family members or something to be like on the street protesting or trying to break them free.
Right. So
they do it for security reasons.
So that's why they didn't tell the lawyer.
Correct.
That he was going to be deported.
But what always strikes me in stories like this, and there are far too many, and we've heard several, is the constant effort of dehumanization of the person. It is always trying to strip away that feeling of humanity. And I don't think that's who we are as a country. That's not who we want to be as a country. And Emma, we couldn't have said it any better than Pastor Emma Lozano. It's a broken system. There's no reason these things keep happening. He has paid his price.
All right, so we're going to watch the last segment with Miguel and Pastor Emma Lozano. We're going to find out how he's doing in Mexico. He's been there for a little over a month now. This just happened.
That's it?
It's just happened.
Oh, snap.
This just happened. March 23rd, he got deported. So what are we now? April. He's been there 2 months now.
Yeah.
Okay, so this just happened recently. This is not something that happened years and years ago.
Right.
This is happening in real time.
Yeah.
Right now, in all of this, craziness that Trump is making. Probably under Obama, he would have got some sort of prosecutorial discretion, I would assume.
I'm sure.
Right.
But with Trump, he's deporting. So we're going to watch the end with Miguel Perez and Pastor Emma Lozano, see how he's doing there, what his plans are to try to come back to America if he can.
Our state senator, Tammy Duckworth, tried to intervene. They paid her no attention.
Tammy Duckworth needs to to start a private bill to have him return to the United States?
We have that private bill, but the problem is under the new administration, it's not like it was before. You have to get an okay letter from either Senator Grassley or Senator, I can't remember his other name, but
What are the Republicans who are in charge?
yeah, definitely. And this is very difficult, and we haven't been able to do that yet. I've had meetings with one of them who just outright refused, but we're still trying to pressure them in order to understand. We're talking about a veterans issue.
What about
an immigration issue.
What about going back to the state court judge who found him guilty and requesting a vacater?
We did go to the state judge, and he said he had no idea that he was a veteran. If he had known, he would have definitely.
So how it would work is you would go to both the district attorney and say, hey, look at this case, join me in going to the judge, okay, and say what happened here is wrong. You can make a difference.
We're in that process right now, and I don't know if states are different in each state how they deal with issues. I know in Illinois, I think we're a lot more backward than New York and California, but we're trying to do that now. We've contacted a new attorney who is talking to the judge and asking him for a letter, and then we're going to continue to try what Hector Barajas did and get a pardon at the state level.
The problem with a pardon is pardons don't forgive sales of drugs because you would still be possibly considered a past drug trafficker even though you don't have a conviction. So really, the thing that I would suggest that you do would be, even if the judge won't vacate it, and this is what we do a lot in New York, is we ask to mediate the conviction based on these extenuating circumstances. Let's replead him to something that's not an aggravated felony. Maybe instead of vacating the conviction completely, let's plead him to some sort of lesser crime, some sort of misdemeanor, time served that is not an aggravated felony, so then he can go back to the U.S. military like Hector Barajas did and apply for his citizenship because he would then have his good moral character.
Well, those are very good suggestions, and we'll follow up on them. My understanding is that after there's a time limitation in which we had to do these things, and those we've surpassed all of that. So we are looking into it in every aspect that we can. Of course, what I've learned today and what they do in New York, I'm trying to go to the legislature in the state of Illinois and get some changes so that we can at least catch up to New York and California on how they deal with these issues, because in Illinois, like I said, we're somewhat backwards, even though Obama was from Illinois, elected officials that have shown a lot of promise like Congressman Gutierrez and Tammy Duckworth, but we're like light years behind in this other issues that you have mentioned today. And we have looked into some of them, and we've just been hitting one closed door after another. And we're still fighting, and I have much faith. And I want to say, I can promise you today that if there's a way, we're going to find it. And we're going to bring Miguel back, and Miguel's going to open the door for the rest of them, because what's done to them is so unfair. I've talked to them. No one is out there trying to defend or at least advocate for them. The ACLU is out there somewhat in some cases, but we're dealing with a community that has severe PTSD. They feel abandoned, and you have to actually seek them out and help them, because at any given moment, they're suicidal. We're talking about 40% of our veterans come home and they're homeless. And these are not just the ones that are green card veterans. These are others, and they could get a lot of programs. They don't seek them because they are already sick and scarred from the war that they went to defend us. And we need to seek them out, and we need to help them find the medication, the therapy, and give them the honorable service that they so deserve. And I don't know why this country is so absent, and they have no mercy for these guys. And they still are sending us out there. They're sending more and more of our young people out there. My nephew suffers from PTSD. I have family members that have served that have PTSD, and I don't see any of them getting well.
Thank you, and I agree with you 100%. What you say is accurate, is reasonable, and it's really very difficult for me to grasp in my head how whether any politician or a human being can say what happened to Miguel is fair and we're not going to do anything to reverse it.
One veteran every hour commits suicide. Now, why is that? Because we are not giving them the service.
We're not helping them when they come back from an act of war. We're not giving them the mental and psychological services that they require to integrate back into the United States of America.
And most of them, and a lot of them, and because there's such a small population that actually enters to serve the country, but they're the largest population for their numbers that are serving in the penitentiaries of this country. Why? Because they're not serviced and they're self-medicating with alcohol and drugs like Miguel did.
It's an absolute disgrace. Does not serve what's happening here as a proper description.
And they cannot call you a criminal if they have not given you the service and the medical treatment when you return.
That is correct.
They cannot call them criminals. The criminals are the ones that haven't taken this up. And I'm fighting with them to at least admit that, because once they admit that, because I'm into big confession, I'm a pastor. Once you admit it, look at Miguel. Miguel has admitted everything that he's done. And I think that these are not even crimes but it's because of his service to this country that put him in the condition he's in today.
He may not have even had the mental capacity to even know what he was doing at that point in time.
Absolutely.
And that's a reason to go back to the state court judge and not just get a letter, but a full motion. But that's a discussion. That's a discussion for another day. I want to get to.
But he never deserted. He never deserted.
Correct.
But his country deserted him.
That is correct.
And he fought for this country, and now he has to fight his country to come back home.
I agree.
And it's unfair.
I agree with you 100%. He didn't desert his country, but his country deserted him. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right.
They literally opened the door and said, "Get the hell out. And here's your potato sack." Miguel, you've now been in Mexico for about 8 or 9 weeks. Tell us how you're getting along there. What's going on? What are you doing? How are you surviving?
I'm surviving because of all the help from back home with my parents, Pastor Emma, and other veterans here, and not only the deported veterans, but mostly veterans from the United States that come down here to help out their brothers, and some of them have U.S. citizen veterans just moved down here to try to help out. But other than that, it's been very difficult, especially with my medicine. When I ran out of medicine, I went through the withdrawal symptoms of
and you're getting your medication mailed to you from the States?
Right now, yes. My Pastor Emma coordinated when she came down here. She brought me a couple of months worth of medicine, and the rest of them are being mailed.
And how has your mental state been in terms of drug and alcohol dependency? It's easy to get in Mexico. You're no longer in jail. How are you handling, and hopefully you're handling, staying off of drugs and staying away from the tequila and the vodka and whatever else is down there?
It's very easy for me to stay away from it because of my faith in God. My faith in God, it's been wonderful that I'm able to walk around some places and there's the abundance of alcohol and drugs, and it doesn't pull my interest at all. And it's largely because of that, and also that I know the consequences. And is the thing that got me into this mess in the first place. Not only that, but the combination of medication that I take covers all the urges and anything else that I was doing while I was self-medicating. So there's no need for that anymore.
And have you spoken to your children? I assume you have.
Yes, I just got off the phone.
How are they handling it?
Not good. My son's been expecting me for the past few years, and my daughter, I got off the phone this morning with her, and she was crying every time we talk. She cries. She cries, and she's turning 21. It's just bad. It's really sad. My mother, I speak to my mother one day yes, one day no, and she's in depression. She's went into a deep depression. My father also, he hasn't been the same since It's not the same. And we weren't expecting this at all. I've never thought that they would deport U.S. veterans. When I first found out, I was like, no, they don't. And then I found out that there was a community in Tijuana, but I thought it was maybe one or two, and I thought it was special circumstances, and come to find out that it's many,
Yeah.
and we are dying down here. Just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a combat Marine just passed away for not getting the
medication
medical attention.
After he was deported.
Yes.
It's literally, you know, after you come back from combat, they literally leave you to die.
Yes.
That is correct. And I find out it's many more that have died for not getting. You can't get medical assistance here. You can't. If you go to the general hospital, it's gonna take forever to be seen. By that time, you're pretty much dead. And then there's also private hospitals, but you have to have a large amount of money, which we don't.
Miguel and Pastor Emma, how can people reach out to you to help? I know there's lots of people watching right now that want to help in all different capacities, whether it's volunteer or provide support monetarily or goods and services. How can somebody reach out and make a difference here?
Well, first and foremost, I think everyone has to reach out to their senators and congressmen and tell them that this is a problem. We have a petition. We should ask people to come on our website so that they can get on it. We have a Facebook page as well. That there's a PayPal where you can donate some money. Well, right now we're trying to raise enough money to send Miguel's parents to go see him. His daughter, you know, his son. That's who needs to see him. Today, Celia Garcia from our church is flying out there and she's going to see him. Miguel's attorney and 2 other legal aides are going out there to see him. And some of them, I'm trying to see if I can find somebody every month to go out and see the deported veterans because they need that attention. They need to understand that we're still fighting for them. We can't talk to them every day, but we're fighting for them every day, and we think and we pray for them every day. But call your senator and your congressman. Tell them that this is happening. Some of them have went out to visit the bunker out there in Tijuana, but there's actually 2 locations that they can visit, and they should visit them both. And we need to find a way to give these soldiers the medical attention they need. It is very, very difficult for them out there. They're abandoned, and we need to figure out how to bring them back. And my dream is that Miguel will lead them with the American flag, and they'll come to the border and they'll force the issue, and we'll be there waiting for them, and we'll say, bring them home.
I agree. Bring them home. I agree. You serve in active war in the military. You put your life on the line. You don't deserve what Miguel got. He did something wrong, which many people would say. He did his time like anybody else, and he should get to live in America. Miguel,
That's correct.
We will follow up with you. We'll put in our help that we can. Pastor Emma, thank you again. We will certainly be in touch, and hopefully one day we will see you back, not in the near distant future, but in the short term, we'll see you back in America. Miguel, good luck to you.
We'll celebrate
very
them
much.
together,
We
Brad.
will.
Thank
We
you
will.
so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Bye, Miguel.
Bye-bye, Pastor Emma.
So what do you guys think?
I just hope that he gets what he deserves. You know, I honestly would. I'm a petty guy, so like I'm gonna be like, you know, I fought for this country, and if you guys don't want me, I don't want to be with you guys either. But it's like, you know, all his family is here.
He wants to be here.
Yeah,
Not only
entire
did he
life
fight
is
for
here.
his grandfather, his uncles.
Yeah.
He lived here since he was 8.
Yeah.
I've lived here
children
since
are
I
here?
was 8. It's like sending me back to Belgium knowing that my entire
Right,
entire
right.
family is there, but if my entire family were here, it is literally ripping someone apart from their entire family.
And it destroyed 14 years of his life between having a grenade to his head,
Right.
post-traumatic stress disorder, the arrest, the jail. That was 14 years
yeah.
of his life.
No, the rest of his life.
Right,
Because
and
he still
then
ha-
deport him. Right, and
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
But he still has the
Sure.
disease. He still has the, you know what I mean? Like there's not going to be a cure for, you know, what he went through. He's
Right.
always going to see that, you know what I mean? And what he's going through now.
I mean, it's just so hypocritical to say we care so much about our military. You shouldn't kneel for the flag, but here you are deporting a guy who served for our country.
I don't understand why this isn't.
The whole thing is hypocritical.
Yeah, I don't understand why this isn't like in headline news.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't get what it would be, and maybe I'm not thinking about this all the way through, but how would it be so hard that every person who signs up for the military and serves in the military, especially in a time of combat, automatically gets citizenship?
Well, the military should make sure you become a citizen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They could have made sure that he was a citizen before he discharged.
that's what I was
They could
gonna
have done
ask,
it, and they didn't do it.
They could have, but
They could have and didn't do it.
But that's not, you
not
know,
what they do.
anything that they do, right?
Right.
That would just be them being nice.
Correct.
It
To
should
the
be on
soldiers
that.
that fight for us.
Correct.
Oh,
And sacrifice their
So
entire
much to
lives and
ask for.
families.